This is The Issue, and I am the Ghetto Man. Today's issue, President Trump's November 9th executive order barring asylum for immigrants who enter the country illegally from Mexico. On Monday, November 20th, a U.S. District Court judge from San Francisco, his name was Jon Tigar. I kid you not, that's his name. He issued a temporary restraining order against the president's executive order. And this temporary restraining order takes effect immediately, so it took effect immediately on the 20th, yesterday. It applies nationwide, and it lasts until at least the hearing that they're going to have on December 19th, where it's scheduled for a hearing for a more longer-lasting injunction. Well, anyways, there were several civil rights groups that sued, arguing that Trump's November 9th order violated administrative and immigration law. And in his ruling, Judge Tigar said Congress clearly mandated that immigrants can apply for asylum regardless of how they enter the country. And went on to say that Trump's executive order was an extreme departure from prior practice. What he said was, as whatever the scope of the president's authority, he may not rewrite immigration law to impose a condition that Congress has expressly forbidden. Now, it's interesting to note that this Judge Tigar was nominated to the court by the radical Marxist President Barack Obama. So it's no surprise that he's jumped in here, and what he's done is basically violated the separation of powers doctrine. He's telling the president how to run his job before there has ever been an issue in controversy that affects the life, liberty, or property of a United States citizen. At the hearing on Monday, November 20th, the American Civil Liberties Union attorney, his name is Lee Gellerant, said that Trump's order clearly conflicted with the Immigration and Nationality Act, which allows any person present in the United States to seek asylum regardless of how they enter the country. The judge, on Monday, when he wrote his ruling, he wrote that Trump's refugee rule would force people with legitimate asylum claims to choose between violence at the border, violence at home, or giving up a pathway to refugee status in the United States. Well, I've studied constitutional law for over 45 years. We have what we refer to as the separation of powers doctrine. And I know most of you listening already understand what that is, but some of you may not. We have three branches of the government, and all three branches of the government literally act independent of each other. They have specific jobs that they can do, and they can't go outside of that. They have to stay within exactly what the mandates of the Constitution. We have those that create law. That's the legislative branch, Congress and the two houses and whatever. They're the ones who legislate law. And they can only legislate laws that are constitutional, that follow the Constitution. Then you have the executive branch of government. Its only function is to enforce the law. Once again, its only function is to enforce constitutional law. All right? And then you have the judicial branch of government, which is the courts. And their only job is to review the law and then apply the law. So it's review and law application. Okay? The courts are not there, as you hear all the time, to interpret the law. Anytime a law has to be interpreted by anybody, that law is void for vagueness. If you don't understand the law, there is absolutely no way that you can be held accountable to it. And the courts aren't there to interpret what the legislator meant. Their job is just to make sure that the law, when applied, meets constitutional mandate. Very simple, okay? Courts cannot make rulings on any issue unless there's an issue in controversy that is brought their attention through litigation. The President of the United States issued an executive order that deals with people who are not citizens of this country. They're non-citizens. They're foreign nationals. And anybody that is not a citizen of this country who hasn't entered this country legally through our immigration process and gotten a green card and are living here as a resident alien, working and doing everything legal, anybody that hasn't entered that way, that is a foreign national, an alien, has no constitutional protections. And coming into this country illegally, and then having Congress have a law that says if you're here legally, you can still apply for asylum, completely runs counter to how the law works. The first thing you have to deal with when somebody comes into this country illegally, the very first thing is you deal with the illegal act that they committed. If they are not supposed to be in here, then that problem has to be dealt with. And if you enter the country illegally, Congress cannot create a law that nullifies the illegality of that entry. And that's exactly what they've done. By allowing someone to enter illegally and then giving them asylum is clearly inviting them to break the law, to cross our borders illegally. The act, I think was called the Nationalization Act, Immigration and Nationalization Act, without even taking it to a court, is unconstitutional. Now, the President, under Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, where it says the United States will guarantee to each state of the Union a republican form of government, not a democracy, and will protect each of them from invasion, the President's duty as the executive officer of this country is to make sure, this is one of his duties, make sure that our borders are safe from anybody entering the country illegally or invading us or whatever the case may be. So what we have here is we have a jurisdiction problem with this judge. He has no jurisdiction, and neither does the ACLU or any of these civil rights groups. They do not have any standing to take action against the president for enforcing our immigration laws and preventing people from crossing the border illegally. These people that are in Mexico and Tijuana right now, they absolutely have no standing under our law whatsoever. They're not citizens. They're not even in the country. The only thing that they can do, if they can do anything at all, is apply for asylum in this country prior to entering, which is exactly what the president and the immigration authorities are doing right now. They're obeying the law. And of course, I did a video the other day that Mexico now has a border problem because these people are not going to be able to flood into the country as Mexico thought they were when they let them bust down their borders, their southern borders. They could have easily said, hey, we got a problem. We got a horde of people and they're busting our borders. I'm sure the United States would have been more than happy to send troops down there and help them protect their borders from invasion. But now those people are in Mexico, they're in Tijuana, they're at the border, and they're not going to cross. I really don't think that this judge's order, first of all, he's violated the separation of powers doctrine. He's trying to tell the president how to do his job when there has been no cases filed before that court that affect the rights of a United States citizen. And since immigrants don't have any rights to come in here in the first place, Congress can't pass a law that says, come on in illegally, and then we'll go ahead and allow you to stay. The president has a duty. He doesn't have to enforce an unconstitutional law. And that's what he's doing. He's protecting our borders as he was hired to do. As I understand it, I know that the Tijuana mayor, I think he was wearing a red hat that said, let's make Tijuana great again. All of a sudden, the reality of what this caravan, this horde of people, this invasion is really full of nothing but criminals. If you're going to cross any border, they already crossed the Mexican border illegally, didn't they? Every one of them did. So every single one of them in that caravan have demonstrated to the world that they're criminals. We already know that. Now, of course, there are major criminals. There's MS-13 and child trafficking going on and drugs and terrorists. They're all coming up through here. But see, Mexico thought that they could just let them pass through. Now, from what I understand, in Tijuana alone, there's over 6,200 people there right now. In Mexicali, they say there's over 3,000. And these figures are coming from the immigration department themselves. I listened to the one of the spokesmen for ICE that was explaining exactly what's going on, letting people know that what we have here is we have a real crisis on our hands. And this Judge Tigar thinks he can, without any constitutional authority, abandon the only powers that he has under the judiciary, and that is to rule on the law as it pertains to citizens. He can't come along and tell the president to not do his job or tell him he can't do his job any more than the president can tell him how to rule on the law or tell the legislator what laws they can make. I mean, when they can suggest to each other. And this reminds me, it was President Andrew Jackson. I don't remember exactly what the issue was about, but the Supreme Court had made a ruling and ordered him to do something that was clearly unconstitutional, and he recognized it as unconstitutional, and he basically said, "I'm the chief law enforcement officer here. Your order is unconstitutional, and I'm not going to go ahead and carry it out. So who are you going to get to enforce it?" This is the magic that our founders put into the system. By separating these powers, the judges can go ahead and make an unconstitutional ruling just like this Judge Tigar did, but the president is not even under any obligation to obey that order, because that order violates the separation of powers doctrine. It comes over into the executive branch. And like I said earlier, until a United States citizen or somebody who has entered here legally and is protected under our constitutional laws after entering legally, got a green card, and he's a resident alien, and they can own businesses, property, and do all that stuff. But until that happens, the courts can't make a ruling that says that somebody that has absolutely no constitutional standing, no legal standing whatsoever, standing outside of our borders, who's a foreign national, an alien, to get asylum if they enter this country illegally. Now, if I were the president, I would ignore the judge's order. I would tell him to go take a flying you-know-what in a rolling donut, because his anti-American commie-crat ruling is just crap. That's what it is. He has no authority to tell the president that he can't, bar people who enter our country illegally from asylum. He has all the constitutional in the world, all the authority in the world to do that. And he's doing it. And I don't think that this judge's ruling is going to make too much of a difference, because if they don't let you cross over, then you're not going to be in here illegally in the first place, so you can't ask for asylum. If you want asylum, line up at the gate, get in line. As the ICE spokesman said, I believe it was yesterday, get in line. There's people in front of you that have been waiting to get in here. You want to get in here? Get in line. So I just wanted to make this quick video because I wanted to make sure that people understand that you're seeing here now is you're seeing a leftist, communist judge trying to order the president to do something that he has no authorization to even question, because there has been no legitimate case that affects the life, liberty, or property of a citizen or a resident alien or somebody who had entered this country legally. There's no issue in controversy. Nobody outside of that border has a right to file any kind of lawsuit in this country. And I don't care if it's the ACLU or any other group. These people do not have a standing in this country because they are not citizens and they're not here legally. This Judge Tigar, from what I understand, gets reversed 90% of the time. And this is what I've been trying to tell people. See, what we've done is because we don't understand the laws ourselves, we have these politicians out here like that, what's her name, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, an open and notorious socialist who can't possibly take the oath of office without committing perjury or treason, was elected by a bunch of commie-crat idiots that think that just because they elect somebody who claims to be a democratic socialist, which is like trying to say that you're a virgin whore, democracy and socialism don't work together. When has socialism ever allowed a democratic process once it's been put into a place? It hasn't. We allow people to get into each branch of the government who cannot qualify to take the oath. Now, I know that I say this all the time. I talk about this all the time. Oath, 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 oath. But this is where it starts. It starts with the oath. You got to make sure that you have people in there that you know that when they take that oath, that they're going to honor that oath. There's no way somebody who purports and supports democracy is going to get in, take the oath, and then uphold and defend the republic any more than someone who says that they're a democratic socialist or a communist or whatever it is that they call themselves, other than somebody who calls themselves an American citizen and is going to enter into office to serve we the people, take an oath, uphold and defend the Constitution, and then make sure that every constitutionally protected right is enforced. And people look at it and they watch it like a hawk, and they never ever let anybody within government tamper with those rights. So Judge Tigar, I say this to Judge Tigar, your ruling is without jurisdiction. You have absolutely no jurisdiction whatsoever to tell the President of the United States what he can do under the mandates that were laid down by our founders in the United States Constitution. And like Andrew Jackson, President Trump should say, I'm protecting the American people, and who are you going to get? Who are you, Judge? Who are you going to get to enforce your order? Now, people say, well, hey, that sounds like a dictator to me. No, each branch of government can say that to the other branch when they step over the line. The president can't legislate law, but he sure as hell can enforce laws that only meet constitutional mandate. If it's not constitutional, he has a duty to us not to obey it. I am the Ghetto Man. Thank you for watching. If you're politically correct, then you're legally wrong. And if you're not part of the solution, then you are the problem. And remember, in a free society, playing it safe, is the most dangerous thing you can do. Please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.